without honor in his own country. I would like you to please go to Mark chapter 6. I could have read this. It's the same story, 6 verses. But I like reading the Word of God on Sunday morning. Tim said, that's a lot of scriptures for me. I said, yeah. But you know what? If you go through the books, I can't think of the word. Each one gives their own account, but they're all the same account.
Right.
They're different versions, but the same scriptures, the same story. It's Sister Jordan, my story, and I'm sticking to it. Each one of the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, you'll find the same story, only told in a different way. Yeah. They're the same story, but they're just a little bit different because. Yes, their interpretation of what happened. Now, Luke gave a much longer description of what happened. He wanted you to know a little bit more. Well, now, Mark gives it to you in a very short verse, 6 verses. Go to Mark chapter 6, verse 1. And he went out from thence and came into his own country, and his disciples followed him. And when the Sabbath day was come, he began to teach in the synagogue. And many hearing him were astonished, saying, From whence hath this man these things? And what wisdom is this which is given unto him, that even such mighty works are wrought by his hands? I want you to know and understand, they had heard. Now, this is like me, living in Martinsville my whole life. You go ask anybody, do you know who Jennifer White is? They'll go, oh yeah, I know Jennifer White. Oh, yeah, I grew up with her, went to school with her. I know all about her. And they'll say, well, what do you know about her? Well, I know this. I can tell you the things we did when we was in high school together. Now, that's what they know of me. But if they were to ask you today, do you know Jennifer White? No, just see. I mean, Sister Jennifer. And they say, yeah, I guess that's who you're talking about. She goes to your church now, right? She's a preacher. And you say, oh, Sister Jennifer. And many of you would say, she is a lovely person. She is such a wonderful person. I said some of you. I said some of you. I didn't say all of you. Some of you would say, oh, Sister Jennifer is a lovely person. Because there's one thing I know. Not everybody is going to love you. Not everybody is going to like you. That's just life. But if they were to say, do you know Jennifer? And you'd say, oh yeah, she teaches Sunday school, and she does this, and she does it, and she's this kind of a mom, and she's this kind of a grandma, and they would go, that's not the Jennifer I knew. That's not the person I knew. You sure we're talking about the same person? And this was Jesus. He grew up in Nazareth. Do you understand? He grew up there. His neighbors that lived around the block knew him. They knew his mom and his dad. They knew all about him. He had brothers and sisters. They knew him. And they're sitting there and they're listening. They're listening to him sit in the synagogue. And he's teaching out of the book. He's teaching out of the Torah. He's teaching and he's expounding all the wonderful things, the amazing things. And he's telling them, and the reason that I used Luke is because he said, not everybody got healed. Not everyone was fed. He tried to, I use that because I want you to understand, he was in Nazareth, his hometown. His hometown where he grew up when he was just Jesus.
Yeah. Just Jesus.
Not the Messiah, not the Christ, not the healer, not the Son of God. He was Jesus. Yep, that's Jesus. That's Joseph's kid. That's Mary's kid. Yeah, I remember that Jesus. I remember him. Well, he was a carpenter's son, right? Yeah, I remember him. He used to hang out over there on the corner, him and his brothers, James, and yeah, he had some brothers and sisters. Y'all remember him? They remember Jesus. They didn't know Jesus. They didn't know Jesus like we know Jesus. Because they only knew about him. They didn't really know him. And they'd heard, some people had heard the great things that he had done. The mighty things he did. He had already started healing blinded eyes. He'd already started healing the lepers. He'd already raised some up to out of their beds and they could walk. He had done great and mighty works. And he went to his hometown. And you think in your own hometown, that's where you're going to get your support. I'm going to go home and they're going to support me. I mean, that's our logical thinking. I'm going to go home and my family and my friends are going to be so excited that it's me.
Wow.
Wow, were the disciples totally and completely thrown aside? Were the disciples not just, wow. Let's read on.
It's like evangelism to other churches and things, rather than their home church. And they're so welcome, and they can see so many more mighty works done.
Because they see you in a whole different light. Absolutely. And it says, from whence hath this man these things? And what wisdom is it that which is given unto him? That even such mighty works are wrought by his hand. They were amazed. This is the same Jesus we knew when we were kids. Is not this the carpenter, the son of Mary, the brother of James and Joseph, and of Judah and Simon? And are not his sisters here with us? Isn't that his sister right over there? That's the sister, right? And they were offended at him. They were offended. Now, how can you possibly compare yourself with God? We've known you your whole life. We've known you your whole life. How dare you come into this assembly and tell us who you are? They were offended because I want you to know, as much as you want everybody to love you, and as much as you want everyone to like you, not everybody is going to. You can preach the word to many people, and they will shut their ear to you. Oh, that's just Tammy. I've known Tammy since I was a kid. That's just Tammy. I don't have to hear her. But when Sister Tammy comes here, and she gives the word, you listen. That's Sister Tammy. I want to hear what she has to say. That's Sister Tammy. I know Sister Tammy. I've known. And you know how they know? Because they know your life. They know your life. They never knew Jesus only as Jesus, the carpenter's son. They didn't know him as Jesus, the Messiah. They didn't know him as Jesus, the healer. They didn't have that understanding. And they were offended at him. But Jesus said unto them, a prophet is without honor, but in his own country, and among his own kin, and in his own house. And he could do there no mighty works, save that he laid his hands on a few sick folk, and healed them. And he marveled because of their unbelief. And he went round about the villages teaching. Do you understand? He tried. It wasn't that he didn't try. He walked through the streets. His desire was to lay hands and see them rise up.
Amen.
His desire was that he would cast out devils. But you know what? They didn't want them devils cast out. They didn't want to be healed because all they could see was Jesus, the carpenter's son. That's just Jesus. I know him. There's no. They had so much unbelief. He could not work. He could not work. So many times we hinder God with our unbelief. Some people aren't going to want to hear this. But many times we hinder God with our unbelief. In our mind, we say, God can do anything. All things are possible. I can do anything through Christ Jesus which strengthens me. In my mind, I know this. But in my spirit, I say, but, well, I know, I know, maybe I better not believe it, because if I believe it and it doesn't happen, then I'm going to make God look foolish. What was it, 4 weeks ago, Samantha? Joey gave his testimony? Joey had injured his leg. He had fell in a hole and hyperextended it. He could not walk on it. It was very painful. He'd made several trips to the doctor. They took him to the orthopedic surgeon. They did a CAT scan or MRI and said that he may have to have surgery. And, I mean, they were really concerned. And Joey said that he went to bed and he was talking to God about, I don't want my leg to hurt. I don't want my leg to hurt anymore. I need it healed, Lord. And he said he was praying, and he said he had a dream, and in the dream, he got healed. He was healed. And so when he woke up the next morning, he walked into the bathroom, and he felt his knee, and he said, I am healed. God, I am healed. And he started hitting around on his leg, just started hitting it. And he said, it doesn't hurt anymore. It doesn't hurt anymore. And he did this, doesn't hurt anymore. And he told his Mom, God healed me. God healed me. I had a dream last night. When I woke up this morning, God healed me. God healed me. And he went to Samantha and he said, Mom, I'm healed. And she said, I believe you, Joey, I believe you. And he was so amazed. And then he said to her, but what if I say something and then it starts hurting again? She said, don't let the devil steal that, Joey. Don't let the devil steal that.
Amen.
God healed you. You got to believe it.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Amen.
You got to believe it. And he warned whether to even testify and say God healed him. Because, you know, anytime God does something, here's the devil. Well. But what if this? What if that? But you don't understand. If you say this and you say that, He's like one of those little yappy dogs. Just don't ever give up. They just don't ever give up. Do you understand? He could have said, I can't tell anybody. I better not tell anybody. Maybe it's not healed. Maybe I just thought that. Maybe God really didn't say that to me. Maybe I better not do anything. I better not say anything. And so you know what? He could have lost his healing. He could have said, I better wait. I'll go ahead and use the crutches and maybe I'll go ahead and have surgery just in case, like the doctor said. The devil will steal your blessing if you let him. And I'm not saying that surgery is a bad thing, because face it, I've had multiple surgeries. Because God chose not to heal me. Poof. I believe that God can miraculously poof and heal me. I've got no doubt about it.
Amen.
I've seen too many people. I've seen my own child healed. When when Chrissy was a baby, when she was 18 months old, my dad said, Jennifer, have you ever noticed how crossed her eyes are? And I said, no. He said, tell me you cannot see that child's eyes are crossed. And when I looked at her, I could see she looked like this. And I'm like, I better get that. So we took her to the doctor. They sent her to an ophthalmologist. And they tried like drops and patches and glasses and patches and eye drops and patches and glasses and everything all at the same time. And they finally ended up giving her bifocals. At 3 years old, this child's glasses were the size of Coke bottles. And I am not lying. The size of Coke bottles. And if you put them on, I don't know how you could see, but she would put them on and everything straightened out. Her eyes were straight, everything was perfect. And she wore glasses, probably she was like 7. I think she was about 7 when we had a shut-in at the Brooklyn church. And we haven't done this for a while, but we stayed there from Friday night to Sunday night. We did nothing but pray and fast and pray and fast and preach and pray and fast and preach and sing, and that's what we did. And on Sunday, at some point in time, she took her glasses off, and put them away when she went to sleep. But when she woke up, she never put them back on. And so Sunday come, we all went home. She still didn't have her glasses. I put them on the shelf. Monday morning came, it was time to go to school. And she got all dressed and was ready. I said, go get your glasses on. She goes, I don't need those glasses, Mom. And I said, you are not going to school without them glasses, because I'm not making a trip to school. You know how you just argue. And she's like, Mom, I don't need the glasses. Wow. And I looked at her, and her eyes were perfectly straight. And she never wore glasses after that. And when she was about 12, she was having some trouble seeing the board. And I took her to the eye doctor. And she didn't need glasses. And I told him all that she went through. And he said, you know, if you hadn't told me this, I would never have seen. There is no sign that this child has ever had a problem with her eyes. Absolutely no sign. Her eyes are perfectly straight. I would never have known that there was ever a problem if you had not told me this. Because he could not see it. We weren't praying for it. We weren't asking for it. At no time did I say, God, heal my child's eyes. At no time did she say, Jesus, take. She just took her glasses off and went her way playing and never put them back on.
Amen.
And God just miraculously, poof, there was a healing. It was right in front of me, and there was no denying it. You cannot deny what you see with your own eyes. And she cannot and she will tell people, God absolutely healed me. He absolutely healed her. Now you know what? She could put those glasses back on. I could have forced her to wear those glasses. And she may have lost her hearing.
That's right.
Because I chose not to believe.
Brother Ronnie always said that happened before it happened to him. He said he knew God healed him and put his glasses back on.
See, sometimes we want to depend on us way too much and not give God enough credit for doing what He can do. We allow our unbelief to come in because it's our natural mind. Our natural mind will tell you it's impossible, and your spiritual mind will say anything's impossible. Anything's possible with God. If you can just believe, you can have it. And Brother Donnie, I know you have a great desire to lay hands on the sick and see them healed. And I am absolutely positive there are many people that you have prayed for and healing has came their way and you just didn't know about it.
Amen.
Because you know what? We don't always see everything like this.
That's right. Amen.
I remember, if you go back to the scripture that we read in Luke, Naaman had leprosy. And he, it was bad. And he was a chief. He was a captain of the army. A captain of the army. And the prophet told him to go down and dip yourself 7 times in the river. And he goes, that skunky, dirty river? Come on, why can't I just go right over here in the clean river? Let me go to the clean. And they said, no. Go down to that skunky, dirty river and dip yourself 7 times. He didn't understand that. 7 times. If he'd have dipped himself 6 times and walked away and said, if he went in the first time, he didn't see anything. The second time, didn't see anything. The third time, didn't see anything. 4th time, 5th time, 6th time. If the 6th time he'd have said, I'm done. The 6 times, it hasn't happened, it's not going to happen, and walked away, he would not have received his healing.
Right.
It was the 7th time when he came up, he was healed. He was healed. If he had allowed his unbelief to take over, he would have lost his healing.
Amen.
You have to hold on to what you know is true, no
Amen.
matter what it looks like.
Yeah.
Amen.
Doesn't matter what it looks like around you. And I'm telling you right now, in the 58 years that I've been on this earth, I cannot believe what I see going on in this world today. Tim and I were saying, we're born in the wrong era. We should either have been born 20 years earlier or 20 years later, because we're born in the wrong era, because we're lost in so many ways. And I said, you know, it wouldn't matter when we were born. You're still going to have something come your way. I used Brother Pat. I said, look at Brother Pat. 70 years old. Look what he's battling. Look what he has seen in his time. It's there. The storm is there. Oh, Sister Jordan, it's been with me all week. Been with me all week. The storm is always out there. The storm is always there, and there's always a new storm coming. She taught Thursday night, wonderful. There's always a storm out there, and when that storm gets by, it was so funny because we had an actual storm that night. She know we're finished preaching, you know. And we were up here, people were getting prayed for, and the door literally flew open all by itself. Brother Shane said, goodbye. Whatever it was, they didn't leave. I don't know what it was, but it was gone.
About a month ago, I said, Asia and I were talking about this, and I said, what's going to really surprise people is when they find out she's really a preacher.
I said those same words.
Really and truly. I said, she's got a gift.
She put the word out wonderful. It was very good.
All right, we're all done.
It was very good.
I'm going to scroll.
Many people do not receive because they give up right before the healing's coming. Or they give up right before whatever you have need comes its way. God is always there. Don't ever give up. If God has given you a promise, if He's told you He's going to do something, you have to stand and believe for it. I mean, I'm just telling you from experience. Disappointment comes our way. Disappointment comes our way. Bad things happen. Sister Els was a wonderful person, and she was so sick, and we believed that God was going to heal her. And I know I've said this 100 times, but I can't help. These are things that I've been in my life, my experiences. My experiences. Paul expounded his experiences repeatedly over and over and over and over and over because it was his story, he was sticking to it. But Sister Els was very, very sick, and we truly believed that God was going to heal her. When we went in and we laid hands on her and we prayed for her, I knew in my spirit God was going to heal her. And as soon as I walked out the door, and there was 4 of us, and we said, God is going to heal her. You know the first thing that was said, her family said? But you don't understand. This is what the doctors told us. The doctor said, she cannot make it without a heart-lung transplant. It is impossible. And we kept saying, but God can do anything. You just have to believe Him. You have to trust Him. And her family, which knew God, repeatedly said, but you don't understand what the doctors have said. The doctors have told us it's just a matter of time. And yes, we know God can, but will He? And I wanted to go, yes, He will. But you know what? A man is without honor in his own country. People can only accept what they can accept. And there's so many times I want to shake people. Can't you see what God is doing? And then I know, what good is it going to do me? You know, unless it's a revelation from Jesus Christ, it's not going to do any good. These people, He went to many. It said He walked through the villages and could do very few works. Now, when He was in Samaria, when He was in all the other places, He did great and mighty works. I mean, face it, He raised Lazarus from the dead at the very word. Lazarus was dead 4 days in a grave. 4 days in the grave.
Taken in a rock.
And Jesus said, Lazarus, specifically, Lazarus, come forth. Because I want you to know, this is what I believe. If He stood in front of the tombs and said, dead, come forth, every dead creature on the earth would have come out of the ground. But He specifically spoke to Lazarus. Lazarus, come forth. And I want you to know and understand, when Lazarus came out of the grave, this is how he came out. Come here. I need no help. Because back then, they would wrap them all up like a mummy. And so when He said, Lazarus, come forth, this is what I see. Hey, God. Hey, come here. Could you help me get these things off? Can you help me just a little bit? How many of our brothers and sisters do we see like this? Can you just give me a little help? All they need is you to wrap their arms around and say, I love you. All they may need is, Oh, Jesus, you know what they have need of? That's one layer. Oh, God, work in their life. That's 2 layers. Oh, Jesus, make a way. And then all the bonds fall off. All the bonds fall off. You know and understand? Someone moved the rock. Jesus didn't move the rock. Someone moved the rock out from in front of the tomb. Jesus spoke the word, Lazarus come forth, and someone loosed the bonds that held him tight. But you know what? You have to believe. You have to believe. If the man that moved the rock said, "I'm not moving that rock, he's been in there 4 days. He stinks. There's no way I'm doing it." Unbelief. Do not allow unbelief to come in and steal away things that God has promised you. And no, you may not do great and mighty works in your own family. Because I'm going to tell you right now, your family is the hardest people in the world to reach. Your family is the hardest people in the world to reach. As much as you want for them, as much as you want to give to them, as much as you want them to have an understanding of who God is, the only way they're going to see God many, many times is through your life.
Amen.
And how you treat them. Do you treat them with love and respect? Now, my children will tell you, my husband will tell you, I would lay down on the floor and be walked on a whole lot of times. But you know what? I know one thing. It doesn't matter how many times I get walked on, because Jesus says if they slap you here, turn and give them this one too. Not an easy task. Not an easy task. Oh, when you want to reach out and go. That's what the man wants to do. Am I right? Can I get an amen? That's what the man wants to do. But then the spirit man rises up and says, not so.
Right.
Oh, not so.
Right.
Because you will get nowhere. You will touch no heart. When you render evil for evil, all you get is evil.
Amen.
When you render evil for evil, all you get is evil. When you render good for good, when you render good for evil, good will come out on top.
Amen.
No matter what.
Amen.
Not an easy road. Not an easy task. Sometimes the hardest thing in the world to do is nothing.
Yes.
Sister Jennifer, I know for a fact that that's true. Because when I first became with the Lord, I was down at a restaurant, and somehow some lady, we got into it somewhere. She was arguing with me, and I was just going to let it go. And she said, well, come outside with me. And I started to follow her outside, and something just hit me. No, don't do it. And I walked back inside and sat down. And that had to be the Lord.
Yeah.
Sometimes the hardest thing in the world to do is nothing.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Sometimes the hardest things to do is say, Lord, bless them in their ignorance. Bless them in their ignorance. What does the word say? Be good to those who despitefully use you.
Amen.
Be good to those. Brother Mark, did you have something?
I found out that the willingness to turn the other cheek a lot of times is enough.
Absolutely.
If they slap your cheek and you're willing to turn the other cheek, most of the time God will step in and tend to His children. So you don't have to really get to slapping on the second side. You just got to be willing to.
That is true. That is true. You have to be willing to walk away.
That's right.
Sometimes it's just the willingness to walk away.
Amen.
I was sitting there, I was thinking about the other day, I was driving up.
He said turn the other cheek, he didn't say be the
Pulls out, and starts dragging my tail end. And one of my biggest pet peeves is other drivers. You can ask him, I'm like, behind the wheel, you know, it just drives me
Understand?
crazy. And somebody was riding my tail end, and I looked at the rearview mirror, and I said, you know what, I could slam on my brakes right now and make you beat my tailpipe. And just out of nowhere, he says, now what would Jesus do? And I become immediately humble. I just immediately became humble. And I was like, oh God, I'm sorry. You know, it just took that small little thing to turn everything.
Listen for the wee small voice. Listen for the wee small voice, because that's what's going to lead you and guide you to truth. Sometimes it's not in, sometimes we want this big sign going, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, don't go there. I said, back up. We want a neon sign flashing to tell us what to do. When inside our heart, the whole time God is saying, you know what you're supposed to be doing. You know how you're supposed to be behaving. You know how you're supposed to be acting. You know what you're supposed to do. Come on now. Listen to that wee small voice. It's not in a wind. It's not in a great and mighty move. Sometimes it's in a wee small voice. Brother Pat has said many times when he was young, he would be out with the guys and God would say, you better go home, son. You better go home. And because he listened and did what God said, he was saved from that situation. I know in myself, many times God has told me, instances of cars. I used to drive Blue Bluff Road at 70 miles an hour with my children in the car because I like to drive fast and I love that road. And I was running about 70 miles an hour one night going to church, and God literally said to me, this voice said, and what would you do right now if a deer ran out in front of you? And I went, oh. And I slowed myself down. And I went around the next corner, and guess what ran right out in front of me? A deer. Right in front of me. And I said, thank you, Jesus, thank you, Jesus, thank you, Jesus, thank you, Jesus. Because I knew he had forewarned me. But if I had said, oh, them deers are all the time. Wrong. Deer do a lot of trouble at 70 miles an hour. Deer do a lot of trouble at 30 miles an hour. If you hit on 70, you're going to have a lot of damage. You know what? Listen to that sweet small voice that tells you. He said, I will send you a comforter that will lead you and guide you to all truth. But you got to listen. If God's talking to you and he's telling you something, you got to listen. And not just listen, but do. If you be a hearer of a word only, you are nothing, but be a doer of the word. You can't just be a hearer. You can't just hear things and then go on your way and do your own thing. You got to be a doer of the word. And what is the word? This is the word. If God is telling you to back up, do nothing, wait for me, I'm here, hang on. 6 dips won't do it. 6 dips won't do it. It's got to be 7.
Amen.
6 times around Jericho did not do it.
Right.
It was the 7th.
Right.
Yeah, sometimes you get walked on, sometimes you get a heel to the eye, sometimes you get one to the back. You know, sometimes you get a kidney shot. It's like, yeah, sometimes we get walked on.
Amen.
But you know what? I'd rather be a fool for Christ's sake
Amen.
and to do what he wants me to do
Yeah.
than to lose and miss my way to heaven. It's not an easy walk. It is a committed walk. A committed walk through love.
Stop him.
Our reward is eternal. Yes. This is temporary. This world is temporary.
That's right.
And we may not get everything we want. We may not have everything we want here on this earth. But one day, and one day very, very soon, we will live with him in eternal love, in eternal grace, in eternal compassion, and we won't have to endure this world anymore. But do not give up. Do not allow unbelief to come in and steal your promises. And don't be upset if people do not accept your word, because not everybody's going to hear you. But I guarantee you this, someone will hear you if you speak his word. Even though Jesus could not do any mighty works in Nazareth, he did great works everywhere else. Everybody's not going to hear you. But I do know this, someone will hear you if you speak and believe. Don't let the devil steal what God put in you.